CrossFit is all about blurring lines. Because of that, it's often hard to tell if an athlete did well on a particular event because of a certain movement, the time domain, or something else altogether. CrossFit workouts are hard to classify, and in turn, CrossFit athletes are hard to classify. But today I'm gonna try. I have broken down a CrossFit Games athlete's profile into 10 separate abilities or attributes, and I'm going to be choosing which Games athletes are the best in each. Now, I'm only going to consider all the athletes that have competed at the CrossFit Games between 2021 and 2023 and are expected to make a run again this year. First, let's take a look at what I'm calling engine. Now, what I mean by engine is workouts where there's no particular limiter in the workout other than your overall energy. This is where no certain movement, skill, or muscle group is holding you back. The perfect example of this to me is the workout Helena from the 2023 CrossFit Games. For a Games level athlete, this is a every second counts type of event where there is not enough volume, endurance, or weight for anything in particular to slow them down. For this, I made a list of events I think fit into this engine category, which includes things like 2021 Event 9, Jackie Pro, Helena, and a few others. Again, events where there is nothing in particular that will slow down a Games level athlete other than just overall fatigue. I decided to take the average placings in these events and see where people came out. Although, because it was kind of a small sample size of events, I didn't think anything would come of it. But I was wrong. Even with this small of a sample size, there were actually two guys who stood out well above the rest. Now, before I get into who took the top spots here, there are a few other things I want to point out. The first is Jeff Adler, who did not have a great year in these types of events in 2021, but over the last 2 years has done extremely well on these engine-centered events. The second is that Khrennikov has not competed in a whole lot of these types of workouts, but of the 3 that he has done extremely well. On the 2 most engine-type workouts, he has taken a 2nd place on Jackie Pro and a 5th on Helena, meaning he is definitely someone here to look out for as well. But there were 2 guys who have been consistently at the top of these types of workouts over the last 3 years, and that is Patrick Vellner and Lazar Jukic. Both have an average place finish of about 6th. While these 2 stand out above the rest, Vellner still ended up being slightly higher, crowning Uncle Pat as the guy with the best engine at the CrossFit Games. Out of all of these things I have identified as general things needed in CrossFit, you can see only 2 of them are actual specific movement patterns, while the rest are more broad in definition. The reason for this is that these 2 movements are by far the most used movement patterns at the CrossFit Games. Over the last 3 years at the CrossFit Games, squatting has been required in 9 out of 41 events. And that was only when squatting was required. If you include times where squatting was not required, but in reality was needed to do well on the event, like max lifts and clean ladders, the number of events with squatting jumps up to 13 out of 41. Meaning that if you go to the CrossFit Games, you can expect some form of squatting to be in about 1 out of every 3 events you do. So because of that, let's talk about squatting. Now, this is going to be one of those where we don't need to get too deep on the stats, because in reality, it's not worth the time. By far, the best squatter in the field is Colten Mertens. And I know he's just 5'4", which gives him the advantage of a short range of motion, but let me tell you something. A short range of motion is not the only reason Colten Mertens beats all the other Games athletes at squatting. His squat strength and squat endurance are undefeated. As far as his squat strength, there has only been one time at an official CrossFit event that he was tested in a max squat. In the 2021 quarterfinals, Colten beat every single other CrossFit Games athlete that competed between 2021 and 2023, except for Medeiros in a 4-rep max front squat. As you can see, he's one of the strongest squatters, and on top of this, he has the best squat endurance out of the field by far. Colten Mertens has squatted his own body weight 116 times in 5 minutes. He's also squatted 365 pounds, which is almost 2 times body weight for 30 reps. And last year at the CrossFit Games, he smashed the whole field in the workout ski bag and made it look easy. Colten not only benefits from his anatomy, but he's insanely strong and has better squat endurance than anyone else by far. Moving forward to the second most common movement at the CrossFit Games, running, which has been included in 9 out of 41 events at the CrossFit Games over the last 3 years. Here is a list of some of the best runners and how they have done on events with running in them at the CrossFit Games between 2021 and 2023. I want to focus on 2022 because it gave us 2 very contrasting running workouts that'll give us an insightful look at how to rank these guys. The workout Shuttle to Overhead Part A is basically a 1-mile shuttle run. In a workout like this, your short distance running abilities shine through. From the shorter time domain to the constant slowing and speeding up. Besides Oldest Oopniks, who went absolutely dummy on this workout, Ricky Garard was up at the top of the leaderboard, while Jeff Adler and Khrennikov did not have such luck. And almost on the opposite end of the spectrum from a shuttle run like this is a straight 3.5-mile run like there was in the Capital workout from the same year. Here, Ricky Garard asserted his long-distance running dominance, taking 1st place in the event. Between a 2nd place on Shuttle to Overhead A and a 1st on the Capital, Ricky Garard has shown a wide array of running abilities. Unlike some of the other good runners in the field, Ricky does extremely well on short distance and long distance running. Two very contrasting types of running workouts, two dominant performances by Ricky Mac, the best runner at the CrossFit Games. Let's move on to odd objects. There are a few things that qualify something as an odd object, like uneven weight distribution in a kettlebell, implements that are not commonly used like a pig, or just things that are awkward to move like a sandbag. But it really ended up being between two guys. The first is 2023's third place finisher Roman Khrennikov. Roman's abilities with odd objects became evident to me when he absolutely demolished everyone in the alpaca at the 2022 CrossFit Games. This workout is a perfect example of odd objects. It has one of the world's most awkward movements with the kettlebell clean and jerk, and a weird shaped sled that was seemingly difficult for people to get comfortable on. And this was just the intro for Roman. The only other guy who can rival this type of skill from Roman on odd object abilities is the 8-time CrossFit Games athlete Brent Fikowski. However, he has struggled a bit over the last 2 years in these events. Over the 2 years Roman and Fikowski have competed at the CrossFit Games where we can compare the two, Roman's average placing on these odd object workouts is significantly better. But when you take a deeper look at it, you can see the issue with comparing these two based off of these stats. Here's what I mean. Fikowski is actually very good with odd objects and might be getting slowed down by other implements in these workouts. For example, on ski bag from the 2023 CrossFit Games, Fikowski took a low placing down at 21st. But why? We know Fikowski's abilities with the sandbag from the 2022 games where he took a third place on the max sandbag clean. Presumably, what slowed Fikowski down here was not the odd objects itself, but the fact that it was a very squat dominant event. For another example, I considered the Capitol from 2022 as an event where odd objects played a large role in success due to the way the sandbag carry at the end absolutely melted some people. But again, Fikowski handled the bag as well as anyone and was actually slowed down more by the run portion of this event. So just looking at the stats here is not telling the full story. But as I mentioned earlier, Fikowski does have a long history of doing very well with odd objects. This includes a very impressive first place finish in Strongmans Pier from the 2017 CrossFit Games, which is a classic odd object event, and on top of this, Fikowski has well over 10 top 5 finishes on odd objects throughout his career. Now it makes sense why these are the two who are so good at handling odd shaped objects, because both of them are significantly taller and heavier than all the other athletes in the field. Their longer levers and overall size and weight help them maneuver these odd objects. Overall, this was very close for me. Roman has an extremely impressive average placing on these events, but Fikowski has an insanely long history of being very proficient with odd objects. Not to mention how much better Fikowski did on the only true 1 rep max odd object we have seen with the sandbag clean from 2022 compared to Roman's. Overall, this was too close to pick a clear winner, with both of these guys being far above everyone else. Next, we have Olympic lifting and max strength. And let's be honest, is there even a doubt who I'm going to choose? It's Guy. It's Guy Medeiros. But it's true, Guy is easily the strongest person at the CrossFit Games. Not only has he taken a first in heavy Olympic lifting events, but he is just strong overall, even in non-Olympic lifts. He's taken a first place in the heavy run clean ladder from 2021, a first in the max snatch from 2021, and a first in the sandbag clean from 2022. When it comes to true 1 rep max strength in CrossFit, Guy is as good as it gets. If an Olympic lift or max strength test comes out at the CrossFit Games, just put your money on Guy. Next, let's talk about outdoor events, or out of the gym events. These are things like real biking, swimming, kayaking, paddleboarding, and so on. Again, without even doing any research, one man instantly comes to mind: Jonakowski. Take a look at Jonakowski's history on out-of-the-gym events. His rookie year at the CrossFit Games was in 2014, where he took a second-place finish on the beach workout. In 2015, his second year at the CrossFit Games, he won the Pier paddle event. In 2016, he took a first place on the ocean swim. In 2017, he took a second and a third in the run, swim, run, and cyclocross. In 2021, he won Event 1, which included swimming with fins and a kayak. In 2022, he took a second-place finish on bike to work and a third-place finish on rinse and repeat. And in 2023, again, he won the 40-minute bike ride. Get this man in the water and he's going to win the event. Get him on a bike and he's probably going to win that too. Get him on a kayak and he looks like the only person in the field who's ever been on a kayak before. Jonakowski is by far the best at out-of-the-gym workouts. Now let's switch on to what I'm calling overhead stability, which is really just having weight above your head. We see this skill come up all the time and it is vastly underrated. Not only is this super dependent on how stable the muscles in your shoulders and upper back are, but your mobility and ability to get into good, efficient positions. This is not like running where if you are not good at it, you just run a little slower than everyone else. This is one of those things that will completely stop you in your tracks. At the CrossFit Games level, most of the athletes have incredible overhead stability, but no one has better overhead stability than Justin Medeiros. Take the workout shuttle to overhead as an example. This was the workout where we saw multiple shoulder to overheads off the jerk blocks. Not only can Justin's proficiency in this type of movement be seen in his score, where he tied for 3rd, but by watching the way he moves compared to the others. Most athletes have a certain depth that they are comfortable catching their jerks at, and in fact, many even opted to split jerk in this event because of that. However, because of Justin's shoulder strength and mobility, he can get into deep receiving positions that others can't. It's also evident because between 2021 and 2023, Justin has taken a 2nd in 2021 event 4, a 2nd in 2021 event 8, a 2nd in inverted medley, and a 3rd in echo thruster final. He even shored up his first CrossFit Games title with an overhead lunge to the finish in 2021. If a workout comes out that has any sort of significance placed on overhead stability, which seems to be a very common theme, Justin Medeiros is going to do extremely well. Over the last 3 years, he has an average placing of 2.5 on these types of events, and no one else is really even close. Let's switch our attention towards gymnastics. This is by far the broadest attribute of the list because it includes things like upper body pressing, upper body pulling, handstand walking, muscle ups, and so on. I kind of used the eye test on this one. I went through a bunch of athletes on the leaderboards from the last few years, and if a particular athlete had more than 2 very low place finishes on a gymnastics heavy event, I removed them from my list. By the end, what this left me with was Justin Medeiros, Patrick Vellner, and Roman Khrennikov. From there, I made a list of every event I think has been heavily influenced by gymnastics from the last 3 years and got each athlete's average placing. In the end, the stats were unable to tell the full story because of things like Justin Medeiros taking an outlier 37th place finish on the workout Pig Chipper from the 2023 CrossFit Games, which was an event that took place just a few hours after he crashed his bike in the first event from that year. And Roman Khrennikov missing the 2021 CrossFit Games due to visa issues. At first, I thought maybe Roman Khrennikov is not actually that good at gymnastics and just had a super good placing here due to being insanely fit. However, this is not the case because even on a gymnastics only event like inverted medley from 2023, he still took a 5th place finish. Out of all of these other categories I have talked about, there has ended up being pretty definitive leaders. But gymnastics seems like there are really 3 guys who could claim the top spot. Part of the reason that there could be 3 guys in this is because the term gymnastics is a pretty broad definition, so it's less likely for there to be an obvious number 1. Overall, no matter what way I tried to come to a conclusion, it ended up being too close to call between these 3 guys. Moving on to what I'm calling ergs. This is any machine like the rower, bike, and ski. At the 2022 CrossFit Games, there was an interval event called Rinse and Repeat. During the rest portion of this event before the start of the next interval, Roman Khrennikov was literally hyping up the crowd like people do before they go for a max lift. If you are in a brutal workout that ends with max calories on the erg, which as most of us know, is the most uncomfortable workout format imaginable, and the guy next to you is standing there hyping up the crowd like he already won the event, just know you're outmatched. I could go on and on about how good Roman Khrennikov is on every single type of machine, but I don't need to. Everyone knows Roman stands alone in his abilities on the machines. And just trust me when I say there is no one close to being as good at machines as Roman Khrennikov. Not only in CrossFit, but probably in the whole entire world. Finally, let's talk about IQ. And what I mean by this is each person's ability to maximize the outcome of a workout or competition based off of their own fitness. And this one's going to go to Justin Medeiros. Not only does he have incredible pacing and extremely efficient movement, but he also has quite the ability to bend the rules to his advantage. If you're wondering what I mean by this, go check out my last video where I dive deep on Justin's history with bending the rules. But it's true, no other games athlete has the ability to maximize their outcomes quite like Justin Medeiros. Although CrossFit is hard to categorize and we are always mixing elements, there are still clearly people who excel in certain areas. If there are any events that heavily involve any of these 10 components, now you know who to look out for. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.